Telekomunikasi TBK conference call for the first quarter of 2022 results. All the materials for today's call are available on our website www.mitratel.co.id. Today's call is being recorded and a replay will be available after the call. As per our previous earnings call, it will be the same run-through. Our CEO, Mr. Teddy, will deliver a short remarks to be followed with a presentation by our CIO, and then we will invite all participants to participate on the Q&A session. Before we start, let me remind you that today's call and response to questions may contain forward-looking statements within the meaning of safe harbor. Actual results could differ materially from projection, estimation, or expectation voiced during today's call. This may involve risks and uncertainties and may cause actual results to differ substantially from what we have discussed. PT Mitra Telekomunikasi does not guarantee any action which may have been taken in reliance of the discussion held today. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce Mitratel's Board of Directors who are joining us today. Our CEO, Mr. Theodorus Ardi Hartoko, our CFO, Mr. Ian Sigit Kurniawan, our COO, Mr. Pratikno Arif Budiman, our CBO, Ms. Nur Hayati Chandra Suci, and our CIO, Mr. Hendra Purnama. Without further ado, I will now hand over the call to our CEO for his remarks. Pak Teddy, the floor is yours, Pak.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining our first quarter 2022 earnings call result today. I'm Theodorus Ardi Hartoko, CEO of Daya Mitra Telekomunikasi Tbk or Mitratel. Together with me today, Pak Pratikno Arif Budiman, our COO, Pak Ian Sigit Kurniawan, our CFO, Ibu Nur Hayati Chandra Suci, our CBO, and Pak Hendra Purnama, our CIO. Allow me to start today's call with a few remarks before handing it for a more detailed presentation. I am humbled to announce that our first quarter results are in line with our expectations. We continue our positive growth trends across the board. Our top line grew by 21.5% year-on-year to 1.87 trillion rupiah compared to 1.54 trillion rupiah last year. Ebitda is recorded at 1.44 trillion rupiah, 28.8% grew year-on-year, representing a 77.1% margin. Net income is booked at 459 billion rupiah, 33.9% growth compared to last year. Tower own is recorded at 28,577 sites, with 25.3% year-on-year growth, and tenancies are recorded at 43,101 tenants, with 21.5% year-on-year growth. Our new business initiative on fibers have achieved 2,117 kilometer work orders, or actual demands as of first quarter 2022. As we commit to provide maximum value to our investors as of first quarter 2022, the company has repaid several long-term loans for a total value of 3.78 trillion rupiah, using excess cash from operation that has sustainably improved as a result of our business growth. We also maintained our guidance for the year at 10 to 11% revenue growth and 13% EBITDA increase, with 9.9 trillion capex to be deployed. We also continue to focus our expansion into digital infrastructure verticals to achieve our goal to be the top 5 leading regional champions for digital infra company by offering the best-in-class services with innovative solutions. Fiberization and 5G is also part of our business strategy in support of advancing and preparing the digital tower infrastructure that we have. This concludes my remarks. I will now hand over to Pak Hendra, our CIO, to deliver the rest of the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Teddy. Thank you, everyone, for joining our earnings call for first quarter 2022. Okay, in here, we start with our accomplishment from the independent party. We received an award from the Indonesia Public Relations Award. This is more like our good corporate governance and our communication. From the minister, we also received 2 awards. One of the awards is basically as the best CEO, which received by Pak Teddy, and also we received an award as one of the best organization transformation within SOE. And the last award that we received is from the Alpha Southeast Asia Award, which is they acknowledge as the best IPO for equity in 2021. Okay, in terms of the tenancy ratio, in first semester 2021, it remained 1.51. Then again, if we exclude the acquisition, it's 1.71. So this tenancy ratio is remain the same because there's actually a new colocation and also a new build-to-suit tower. That's why in terms of the ratio, we'll still at 1.51%. Times. And next slide. Okay, next. I think already been introduced before. Okay. For our tower industry landscape at the current time, as you already know, there's industry consolidation within MNO is happening, and I think our last scenario will be 3 MNO instead of 4. And on top of that, the consolidation is also happened in the tower industry. Those are something that we already been prepared, and we are in the process of trying to be involved more active in that consolidation. And as you know, the population per tower in Indonesia is one of the highest after the Philippines. So this actually gives us an opportunity to grow more tower in Indonesia. Last thing is actually the potential growth ex Java. If you see that the islands such as Sumatra, the penetration for the signal or coverage is remaining quite light outside Telkomsel. So then there's a potential for co-location for us to work together with the other MNO in other island or ex-Java island. Okay. The key differential of Mitratel, I think I'm sure that most of you are already familiar. We are remaining to be one of the largest tower in Indonesia. We do have a unique position where 58% of our tower located outside Java. And in terms of tenant, 54% of our tenant is actually outside Java. Okay. In terms of the growth, we not only do growth focus in organic, but also inorganic, where we have a strong balance sheet and also a strong pipeline for the M&A possibility in 2022 and 2023. The next one is our backlog revenue until 2023 is about 37 trillion rupiah. Okay, and then the last thing is actually the margin. We are one of the company that have a good Ebitda margin. For the tower, Ebitda margin is actually at 85.7, and then for the non-tower margin is still low. However, there's already an improvement. So it's now around 14%. So as a consolidated, it's still remaining at 77%. I think I can give you more detail in the next slide. Okay, we can go to the next slide. Okay, so if you see, there's our revenue, EBITDA, and net income still growth remain very strong. The contribution or the main key point for this growth is actually there's 4 items. But first, I would like to revise my revenue visibility is actually 3.4 trillion until 2023. Okay, and for this contribution, for this increase is basically for the from the tower acquisition in 2021, and then the second contribution for this increase is actually the improvement in cost management, and also the improvement of economic of scale because the new tower that we acquired last year. The third one is actually the significant improvement in non-tower business Ebitda margin. As I mentioned before, that our Ebitda margin for first quarter is at 13.8 compared to last year at 8.5%. Okay, and then for the net income, we also receive additional revenue from the interest from our money from the IPO, and also we did some loan profiling and also refinancing, early renewal, not refinancing, sorry, early renewal as Pak Teddy already mentioned. In terms of the new tower, we already have built 375 new tower. We actually have another 662 backlog. So we, as of now, we actually already have like around 1,000, more than 1,000 order. Okay, and then in terms of the new tenant, we have 507. Ongoing, we actually have another 1,182. So in terms of the total sales, we have about 1,689 as of first quarter 2021. And for the fiber optic, as Pak Teddy already mentioned, we now have more than 2,000 kilometers. This is actually been developed in Sumatra, Java Island, Bali, Kalimantan, and Sulawesi. Okay, next slide. Okay, for the tower leasing model, in terms of the margin, we now have in the first quarter is about 85.7. This is improvement compared to last year or in the first quarter 2022 at 79.9%. The main key point still of the acquisition and also the economic of scale from this new tower. Reseller is also down in line with our aiming to actually outpace this reseller model by acquiring those tower. In terms of the EBITDA margin, is also improved to 88.1% compared to 84% in first quarter 2021. Tower related business, you see there's an improvement. One of the contribution for this improvement is actually a spillover from last year project. Is about 130 million rupiah, 130 billion rupiah, which basically is spillover from last year. In terms of the margin, it's also improved from 8.5% last year to 13.8% this year. Next slide. Okay. For the cost, overall, we actually have been improved 14%. And then if you see overall our operation and maintenance cost per tower is also improved from 1.7 last year to 1.4 million rupiah per tower this year. Okay. One of the improvement, if we describe it a bit more detail, in terms of the planning and operation and tower, is actually reduced to 117 billion rupiah we believe this is more like the new standard for Mitratel. And for the next 3 quarters, this is going to be the strongest, or this is going to be the standard for our expenses for the M&O. For the operation and maintenance. Okay, and then for the construction and project management is increased because of the increase in the revenue or sales of the non-tower business. So this is basically more like the COGS for that non-tower project. Okay. Other is they actually increase and not quite significant. For example, for the rent is a temporary lease for vehicle, and for the general administration and employee compensation is also in line with our plan to improve our to actually complete our headcount in terms of doing to complete the organization. For others, it's actually negative. This is because of the under full account receivable. If you see that our account receivable this year is lower compared to last year, that's why there's about 12 billion rupiah of reduction in under full account receivable. Okay, next slide. Okay, this is the information on our tower located all over Indonesia. For the tower that we add, the 371, is actually 87 tower is for non-treaty. So majority of the tower is still remain developed outside Java Island. Even so, we also continue to improve the tower within Java for densification. Next slide. Okay, this is the progress for our ecosystem. As we already mentioned before, we have 6 ecosystem. First one is the tower itself that we are still going to develop and also acquire additional tower to complete our target of 3,000 tower being acquired in 2022. For project solution, if you see that our non-tower margin has been improved to 13%. This is actually one of the improvement that we did for number 2. And for project solution, we are initiating a synergy with a third party, and the showcase we are targeting the showcase to be online or available on the 3rd quarter 2022. Managed service, the project, we are expanding our capability, and the project is aiming to be start in this quarter. And for the edge infra solution, we are work together with the Telkom group to actually provide the ecosystem for the edge computing. The pilot project is planning to be implemented in the 4th quarter this year. Okay. Fiber optic, as we already mentioned, that now we have more than 2,000 kilometers, and we are still deploying, targeting we can achieve 6,000 kilometers by this year. Okay, next slide. This is our ESG. I think that's not small. It's quite similar from the previous earnings call. In terms of the improvement of the LMOS, we also add another sensor for mountain eruption and also go ambulance. For the solar panel, as I mentioned, that we're going to have the showcase in the 3rd quarter. And for the lithium-ion battery, before it was around 200, now we actually more than 300 sites that we already replaced battery. Okay. In terms of the social, we basically might remain the same as before. Good corporate governance. We also have the whistleblower mechanism, and also we have the audit committee character, and we have our CFO, and also include our Risk Officer. So the title is Chief Financial and Risk Officer. I think that will be our last. Oh, sorry. I think the last presentation will be our guideline. So our guideline will remain the same as what we already mentioned in the last earning call. Our revenue still aiming 10 to 11% this year. Ebitda increase 13%. Capex still 9.9 trillion rupiah. Colocation between 3 to 4,000 colocation, and for build to suit is 750. Even though we already have the backlog order more than 1,000. For the fiber optic, there's a 6,000 kilometers still remain to be our target for this year. Okay, I think this is our last presentation. Maybe we can go ahead to another to the Q&A session. Christy, can you please lead the Q&A session?
Thank you, Pak Hendra and Pak Teddy, for the remarks and also the presentation. We actually already have a few questions coming in from the participants today. I will unmute Mr. John Sang. Please ask your question.
Yeah, hi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, hi. This is actually Hussaini Sefi from UBS. Thanks for the opportunity. Couple of questions from me. First is on the guidance, 10 to 11% revenue growth guidance compared to 24.5% revenue growth in the first quarter. So just want to understand how should we see the revenue growth for rest of the year? That's question number one. And question number two is on the telco consolidation. And in one of the slides, you had mentioned that there could be some cancellation of the leases on expiry. So just want to understand that what are the ways and means for Mitratel to extend those leases? Are there any ways in which you can work with the telcos so that those leases are not cancelled, but you can allow them to relocate to other towers? So just want to understand where are there any discussion on that side or not? Thank you.
Thank you, John. Pak Hendra, would you like to answer the questions, or maybe Bu Chandra would like to address it?
Okay. Let me try to answer the question, then Bu Chandra can add if I miss anything. Okay. In terms of the revenue growth, we do have the significant growth in first quarter. This is actually contribution from the build to suit that we have, which is already above our target. Okay, but then we still need to be conservative, as we need to understand that many of the tower is built in the remote area, where sometimes it takes additional effort or additional risk to build the tower in the remote area. So we still are maintaining in terms of our target, for 2022. And then for the next second question is for the renewable. We can say that 100% we are quite confident to able to renew this contract. For the consolidation for Indosat and Hutch, the number that overlap tower is not significant in our location. So that's why we do help them to move several equipment to the tower, or to that not overlap. Okay. But then in terms of the service, we also provide an additional service, which is connection as additional service for them if they want to renew the contract with us. But then in terms of the renewal itself, we are confident that we are able to get 100% or almost 100% contract. The one that is not renew, or there's a contract is actually not renew, sometimes it's because it's a combat tower, or you can say it's a temporary tower. The temporary tower usually will end, the contract will end when the permanent tower is already built. Hope that answered the question. Bu Chandra, feel free if you want to add anything.
Okay, just add yes, for especially for the Indosat and Hutch consolidation, right? We already talked to them that the one that potentially drop, we able to talk to them. Will relocate so that there will be no drop site in our site. We will relocate in other location in tower Mitratel's tower.
Understood. This is very clear. Maybe just one follow-up or one housekeeping question is, can you provide us the organic growth which Mitratel posted in first quarter? Means if we exclude the Telkomsel related tower acquisition, what was the organic growth, organic revenue growth?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Means I just want to understand what was the organic revenue growth which Mitratel posted in first quarter if we exclude the Telkomsel, the acquired towers from Telkomsel.
Okay, the organic growth I think is not significant because it do take some time for us to build the tower, usually about 120 to 180 days. In terms of the contribution from this organic growth is about less than 5%.
Understood. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. Hope that answered your questions. Next question is coming in from Arthur Pineda. Arthur, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hi, thanks for the opportunity. Sorry, just to loop back with the guidance. You have 750 towers guided for this year. But you've already gotten like 371 build-to-suit towers as of 1Q. Why wouldn't you be a bit more optimistic with regard to this? I know that you mentioned some of these are provincial and all, but wouldn't this be a relatively easy target to meet, given that's what you've already gotten so far? And second question I had is with regard to the fiber side. On slide 6, you've mentioned 2,117 kilometers. On the fiber side, is that leased out or is that fibers built in the period? And how does that relate to the 6,000 that you're targeting for this year? Is that 6,000 kilometers to be targeted to be leased out, or is that 6,000 kilometers targeted to be built?
Okay. I can try to answer the question. Later, Bu Chandra, if you want to add, feel free. Okay. The first question in terms of the build to suit, our build to suit is mainly the non-treaty or what we call it remote area. It's because it's located remote area. As I mentioned, there's also a potential risk to actually able to build a tower in that location. So at the current time, it's too early for us to adjust our guideline to be something that more aggressive. But we will see in the first half earning call if we believe that the target will be a lot easier to do. Then we're going to adjust it. But then we shall wait for the next earning call. And the next question. I believe was about fiber optic. Fiber optic, the more than 2,000 kilometers is something that the order that we already received now still under construction, and the 6,000 kilometers, yes, is actually our target is actually the contract that we're going to have, which is 6,000 kilometers, and then to finalize it, to build that connection. If it's a delay, probably we are able to finish everything by first quarter next year. But we hopefully by this year we are able to actually finish more than 90% of this fiber optic.
Understood. So we should start to see some revenues being contributed from these contracts, maybe towards the fourth quarter.
Yes, the revenue should be a small revenue contribution will come this year, but you will see a more like significant by next year.
Understood. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Arthur. Next question is coming from Piyush Chaudhary. Piyush, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Yeah, hi. Good afternoon. Thanks for the call. Pak Hendra, during the call, you mentioned about your order book on both new towers and new tenancies. I missed those numbers. Can you repeat that? That's the first question.
Okay. You and me. Okay. For the new tower, it's 371 for the new tower, and for the new tenant is 507.
No, you mentioned about the order book also, right?
The order book. Okay.
Yeah. The order book which you were saying as of first quarter.
Okay. For the new tower, we have 662 ongoing order. For the tenant, we have about 1,182.
Okay.
Tenant.
Okay. Got it. And the co-locations which you have seen during the first quarter, is it possible to give some color? Like, are you seeing more demand or more build out by Excel or SmartFriend in the first quarter, and you haven't seen much build out still from IOH? Can you give some color on the build out?
Yes, correct. So in the first quarter, the big chunk of demand is still from Telkomsel. Even this is for the co-location Telkomsel and also Excel. IOH, they haven't. What they inform us, they haven't finalized the internal consolidation. So that's why they still hold the big chunk of the order in the first quarter. Hopefully by this quarter and next quarter, the big part of the order from the new from the Indosat and Hutch will come. But at the current time, we do receive an order, but not in significant number.
Got it. And the last one, your lease rental per tenant is coming off a little bit. Can you share us what is driving this decline in lease rental, and where would it likely settle down?
Okay. For the lease rate down is actually one of his from the
gimana? Udah jalan ke mana?
Sorry. Okay. From this sell and lease back, that's one from the acquisition, and two, for the new tower is I think it is about 87 is a non or what we call it a remote location, where we do have a new structure with the mobile operator. The new structure is because they're going to participate in the investment of the new tower. So then the capex not 100% from us. The capex is also been a joint between us and also the MNO. So a small part, for example, like a genset or maybe some part of the cable is actually investing by them. So in our case, our IRR still remain the same because of the capex is actually lower. But then the impact of the revenue per tenant looks a bit down.
So what's the rental over there on the remote areas then?
The remote area, I think, still renting between 11 to 12. Correct me if I'm wrong, yeah, Bu Chandra.
You clear with, you also clear with Rahul and CE.
Okay. Yeah, still remain at 11 to 12, yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Pak Hendra. Thanks.
Thanks, Piyush. Next question is from Michelle A. Michelle, please unmute yourself.
Hi, thank you, Pak, for your presentation. I would like to ask whether do you see and will see any increase in tower construction costs, especially for the construction materials such as steel and fiber optic? Thank you.
Okay. As of now, we haven't We haven't received or we haven't experienced any increase in terms of the construction of capex for the tower or for fiber optic. Mainly because all of the vendors maybe they do have a buffer for that, but as of now we don't have any increases for capex either for fiber optic or for tower.
Okay, so still there is no expectation about any use in the future, Pak.
And we don't know what is the price for the expectation for the steel or etc. But as of now, we don't experience any increase in the capex.
Okay. If there is any increase in the future, how will you pass it to the customer?
Yes, we do have an IRR that we need to maintain. And those actually not only valid for our M&A, but also for our contract for the build to suit.
Okay, thank you, Pak.
Thank you, Michelle. Next question is from Ranjan Sharma from JPM. Ranjan, please unmute yourself.
Hi, good afternoon, and thank you for the call. A couple of questions from my side. Maybe I can take them one by one. Firstly, on these towers in the remote locations where you have a joint investment by the tower co or with the mobile operator, can these towers be leased up or they can only command a tenancy ratio of 1?
Oh, yes, it can be a colo.
And is that similar terms of no co-location discounts?
Sorry, you're asking...
So this is there any difference in lease terms versus the normal towers that you're building?
Okay, in terms of the price, will basically the same, either for the anchor and for the second tenant or for the third tenant.
Okay. And in terms of your debt, I understand that most of it, or almost all of your debt was floating rate.
Okay.
Are you looking to pay that down? Or are you looking to convert that into fixed debt? How should you think about your interest costs going forward?
Okay, so we do profiling for our loan. One of the loan, I guess, for example, the one from HSBC, we do convert it into fixed. Okay, but many banks they actually charge us a very high rate when we want to convert it to fixed rate. So we actually still in the variable using JIBOR, but then we negotiate in terms of the premium. As of now, average is about 1.5. Okay, but we are trying to negotiate to have somewhere lower than 1% for the premium for JIBOR plus less than 1%. And we're also going to reprofile our loan from the collateral base to clean base. So we planning to do some improvement in terms of our loan to the bank. The one that still have the higher rate or they still don't want to do some kind of like adjustment will be our priority to do early repayment.
So when you say premium, that is the spread over JIBOR.
Yes, correct. Sorry.
Yeah. So why would the bank want to reduce the spread from 1.5% to less than 1% in a rising rate environment?
Okay, so when we actually have the loan in the beginning, most of it is for the acquisition and also for the construction. Due to the construction, now the tower itself is already been developed and we already have a solid contract with the MNO. So the risk profile is changed. So that's something that we are negotiate with the bank.
Interesting. Okay. So over this year, next year, how much of your debt can we expect to move from like 1.5% spread to less than 1%?
Okay. At this current time, we still we are still waiting. We already sent RFP to the bank that we have a relationship. and we are waiting for their response at the latest by this week. So then by June and also by September, there's some loan that we can start do refinancing that we will exercise it during that time, either in June, July, and also September. That's why we do the RFP at the current moment.
So, sorry, last question. I know I'm taking up everyone's time, but these RFPs would be related to debt which is maturing this year, or I mean, what percentage of your debt can be like refinanced at these lower interest rates?
Okay, so we actually hoping that we can get a refinancing about 2 trillion. That actually to replace or to refinance the loan that is still we consider high, or a loan that is still have a collateral. Okay, so the purpose is not only to reduce the cost, but also to do some profiling to our loan.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Ranjan, for the questions. At the moment, we have no further hands raised on the Zoom, but I do have one question via direct message to me. What is the update on inorganic growth plan that we have? Perhaps, Pak Hendra, you could enlighten.
Okay. There's actually two big parts. One part is actually for our target with Telkomsel Tower. For that, we already signed MOU with Telkomsel, and the process is already ongoing at the current time, discussion process. Okay, we are target for the Telkomsel Tower to be closed at the end of third quarter. Okay, and then for the other part is actually the M&A with the non-Telkomsel. At the current time, we already discussed with about 7 small tower operator. Hopefully, there's going to be a couple of the negotiation that we can close by second and the third quarter this year. Our target still remain at least minimum 3,000 tower by this year.
Okay, thank you, Pak. That will be the last question for today's call. One question coming in from Jun Long. Jun Long, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thanks a lot. Hi, Pak and Bu. Can I ask about basically the revenue growth from the different telcos? So basically, we can see your Telkomsel, Telkom Group exposure, and then the other telcos. My main question is, why is the growth from non-Telkom Group entities so slow? So if we look at the Hutch revenue growth, it's 1% this quarter. We look at XL, it's a bit faster, and we look at everything else, it's like 5 to 6%. What exactly is dragging down the growth? Because I understand you talked about IOH, but in absolute value over 4 quarters, it still does look a bit slow.
Okay. We'll try to answer the question later on. If Buchandra wants to jump in, feel free. In terms of the revenue by customer, actually most of the customer is actually year on year is actually growth. XL is actually year on year growth about 14.7. Indosat and Hutch, which is the lowest one at 7.5. Telkomsel is actually 27 or 28. You can say 28%. Okay, but the Indosat and Hutch is actually, as I mentioned, the lowest part is because the consolidation process that they still run internally. The only one that is quite low compared year on year is others, or is mainly Bhakti. Is actually year on year is still minus 16 because last year at the end of last year we actually get a significant order first quarter last year, we significantly get a significant order from Bakti. So if you see year on year, this quarter seems to be lower compared to last year.
Sorry, so you got a lot of big orders from Bapti. Why should that decline year on year?
Okay, so last year there's actually 2020 contract, which then it will deliver in first quarter 2021. That's why it's you can say there's a one-time big order, but basically it's actually an order from 2020 that is not delivered at 2020. So that's why if you compare it to 2022 first quarter, then it seems like the 2022 first quarter seems lower. It's actually because if you see last year, it's actually a combination between 2020 and 2021.
Okay, this is not a lease, a tower lease.
This is a revenue by customer, yeah.
Yeah. So when you say that the revenue declined year on year because of a big order, because my understanding was you basically bill them every month. So even if it's a big order, it shouldn't decline, right? Because the contract is 10 years and you bill them every month.
Okay. It's also in terms of the order, it's not similar every month or you say every quarter. Sometimes there's actually a significant number in certain month. So for example, for Bapti in 2022, there's actually quite a significant jump in November and December, early December. That's why the revenue will start kicking when the equipment is already on. So after we construct the tower. So that's why in the first quarter, you see that a big jump in 2021. And I cannot say that every quarter is actually equal. Sometimes in certain quarter will be high, especially in the first quarter. For example, like this year, it's not actually that significant. Hoping by the next quarter will be actually a higher number. Correct me if I'm wrong, Pichandra. Sorry, we're still mute.
Yeah, and in addition, also some part of the terms is one-time charge also, so that there will make the difference between quarter or monthly pattern of the revenue.
Okay. So it's more a one-time charges, right? Because the lease rate that should be recognized over time. So
yes. Yeah.
So that shouldn't fluctuate too much, right?
Yeah, the recurring is not that fluctuate. Yeah.
Okay. So it's the one. Okay. Okay. And when you talk about your order book, sorry, I think you mentioned 1,100 tenants in your order book, 600 towers. Are these mainly from Telkom Group, or is it from other telcos? So I guess if you can just talk about the environment that you see. So and you have talked about IOH. How about do you see XL and the other towers, the other telcos adding more? Maybe their appetite to add more equipment.
Yes, as we mentioned before that we do receive order from Telkomsel, XL, also from IOH. But then IOH is actually the smallest part compared to the others. Yeah.
Okay. Do you see XL having more appetite to add a lot of orders? So like the order book that you have, 1,100 tenants, how much is if you split it between the different telcos, how does that look?
Okay. Let's say for additional tenant by customer, Telkomsel is actually about 69%. Okay, and then XL, I think is about 5%, and IOH is 23%. Smartfren about 2%.
when you say percent, 69%, 5%, this is percentage of the incoming orders that you see.
This is from the 507 tenant, yeah. 507 tenant that I mentioned in first quarter 2022.
Sorry,
Right.
I think Junlong, if I'm not mistaken, what you mean is the breakdown of new orders
Yeah, the order book.
on the sales or on the sales book. Yeah, is that correct?
Yes.
I think Junlong is referring to the 1,000 towers you mentioned earlier in the beginning of the presentation.
Okay, so let's say for 1,000. Okay, maybe if I mention for Telkomsel, yeah, Telkomsel as of March, we have about 349. Okay, Indosat about 109, and then Excel about 28. Okay, total is 507. That's the order that already in May, already completed in May. Okay, then on the deployment is a majority from Telkomsel, is about 566. Indosat is still 34, and Excel about 170. Okay, that if you combine is actually about 786 for the on deployment.
Okay. Junlong, maybe we can take the discussion offline so we can get our numbers in line.
Yeah. Okay, sure. Okay. And I guess my other question is, like if I look at your Hutch, let's say your revenue from Hutch and the revenue from Excel, if we look at the absolute increase in first quarter 2022, the first quarter this year versus first quarter last year. So over the span of 4 quarters, I'm just looking at the absolute increase. Why do you think that the other telcos outside of Telkomsel and Telkom, they are adding, even the rate of absolute increase is a lot slower? So for example, Telkomsel and Telkom, they added, let's say, roughly 300 billion in revenue to you. Hutch added 2 billion. Excel added 20 billion. So, over the quarters, Telkom Group is adding a lot more revenue than the other telcos. Is there any reason why?
I think one of the reasons is because Telkomsel, the one that have a big capex compared to others. I think that's one of the main reasons. I don't know if they answer your question, or maybe Chandra, you have anything else?
Actually, yes, and also Telkomsel order to us a lot, especially if they want to build a new tower. So you will see that revenue contribution from Telkomsel will be always like 50 to 53% from the total portfolio, and because we are the preferred partner for building the new tower, especially Telkomsel, to fulfill the 4G coverage in the remote area. So you will see that revenue is still big chunk come from them, and slowly Indosat and Hutch will contribute in total 19%. Excel is 10%. Will give more contribution on the revenue after they decide aggressive expansion outside Java using Telkomsel tower that we have. So we will see in the future the additional contribution from Indosat Hutch and Excel.
Hope that answers your question, Jun.
Yes. When do you think the other telcos would start adding a lot more equipment on your towers? So if we just, we don't talk about Telkomsel and Telkom Group, talk about Excel, Hutch, IOH, all these guys.
So Excel starting first quarter slowly start, and usually they will pick up on the third quarter and fourth quarter. Fourth quarter will be a bit big because they want to gain more of to have something revenue on the first quarter. that's the typical pattern. So first quarter slow, and but Excel faster than Indosat in the first quarter, and then because Indosat is still have a consolidation with Hutch, and then Q2 is a bit more, and starting second half will be higher, and peak on the Q4 for the co-location. Yes.
Okay, you expect more co-locations to roll in second half this year?
Yes.
Okay. And last question from me. I know I've taken a bit of time. Can you kind of break down what is the difference in terms of the nature of your business and revenue between Telkomsel and Telkom Group?
Okay.
I think for the for Telkom Group, meaning for the non-tower business, we do have Telkom in terms of building a fiber optic for Telkom Group. We receive an managing service for the passive and active equipment. So for the tower itself, for the BTS, is mainly from Telkomsel.
Yeah. Telkom revenue portfolio from Telkom is also contributed by the tower related business on the managed service and some project solution. So that's different than Telkomsel. Telkomsel mainly on the tower business.
Okay, got it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jun. Okay, I think that concludes the call for today, as we are really, really tight on time. Pak Hendra, maybe if you have any final remarks before we conclude the call.
Okay, I think this first quarter is indicate a strong fundamental from Mitra-Tel. We are also on track, and we are confident that we can deliver our guideline for 2022. Even though there's still headwinds in terms of the global macroeconomic or even the consolidation of the MNO. In terms of the inorganic growth, we also hopefully can give you an update more in the next earnings call, because the process is still actually ongoing. But we do hope that we can, we actually quite optimistic that we can achieve our 3,000 inorganic tower by this year. Okay, I think that's all from my end.
Thank you so much, Pak Hendra. Thank you so much for everyone who's joining, who have joined the call today. Thank you for the board of directors for hosting as well. I'll see you guys next quarter. Stay safe, and that's for now. Thanks, everyone.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you. Yeah.